Hello, hello, this is Taylor Ursula, and y'all, it's a full moon eclipse in Libra. Step inside. Okay, so it is our one and only full moon eclipse in Libra. Yes, you heard that correctly. You may recall that last spring we had the finale of the Scorpio full moon eclipses. And so we did not have a Libra full moon eclipse last spring. And we will not have one next spring because we'll already be well into the Pisces Virgo axis. And we'll be having Virgo full moon eclipses. So this is our only one, y'all. All right, so this is a big moment. The bigness of this moment is amplified by the fact that this is the major event of the week. This happens on Monday morning and Sunday night for those on the anywhere east of LA. And so we don't have any other major aspects all week until Venus makes a sextile to Uranus in Taurus. So there is something very quiet about this week that really amplifies this full moon eclipse, that really allows this eclipse to take full, like, center stage here in this moment. So for better or for worse, whatever's happening at this full moon is the talk of the town, is the meat of the week. Let's look at what's going on. This full moon eclipse happens in Libra at 5 degrees on Monday, March 25th at midnight on the West Coast, which means late Sunday for everyone everywhere else. The moon moves into Libra on Sunday the 24th, and this is the same day that Venus in Pisces makes a sextile to Jupiter in Taurus. This is lovely. This is beautiful. Venus has been hanging out in Pisces for a couple of weeks now. This is Venus's sign of exaltation. It's like her favorite vacation home. And Venus and Jupiter have been in mutual reception for these couple of weeks. So this might be a real display of what that mutual reception has been giving us at this time. This mutual reception is softening us. It's grounding us. It is allowing us to tap into a sense of abundance and really embody that in a full, like, spiritual way. So this is some pretty potent, beautiful stuff. We might feel really good leading up to this full moon eclipse. The catch might be that while Venus and Jupiter can see each other and are ruling each other and are embracing luxury and ecstasy and joy and pleasure, neither of these planets can see the full moon in Libra that they are both very much informing. It gives bosses are on vacation and the email is scheduled to go out to lay off 300 workers. Now that's unfortunately like an all too true narrative. But what I mean here for this moon might be that we are able to really give ourselves what we need at this time. And there might be something unfolding in the background that we've already set into motion long ago that is now kind of taking effect, right? So we can think about the last time Venus was able to see the South Node and to see Libra, and that was from her placement, her transit through Aquarius. At this time, she was meeting up with Mars for the first time in 6 months. They almost met, not even for the first time in 6 months. They almost met 6 months ago. They were about to meet. So that tension was building up while Venus was in Leo. And then Venus stationed retrograde, as we recall, and Mars forged on into Virgo. And so we've had this tension building for 6 months. They really haven't met for like close to a year at this point. And so all of this was part of the kind of agenda for Venus moving through Aquarius. There may have been conversations started then or ideas outlined at that time that were critical to what we needed for ourselves in the changes that we were setting into motion then. We know Venus squared Uranus at that time as well. And so something was sort of shaken open too as those plans were being kind of outlined. And so this might not be the like surprise release of something. This might be a planned release that we're now getting to finally experience and like see executed in some way. And this full moon eclipse is pretty cut and dry. The moon opposes the sun at 5 degrees on Sunday here on the West Coast. No, on Monday here on the West Coast, and Sunday for y'all. And it then goes on to make a conjunction to the South Node. On the following day, Tuesday, it opposes both Chiron and Mercury in Aries. So there is a lot of confrontation in this full moon. Again, it may not be active, it may be reactive, it may be like a reaction to what has already been set in motion prior to this. Mercury is also just days away from stationing retrograde at 25 degrees here. And so there is something, again, like maybe unfinished that is being recognized at this time. Mercury will go back. You know, the moon is gone, but Mercury will download this information from this opposition, from this full moon that is now waning, and it will integrate that and think about what it needs to kind of review once it's in retrograde. So the moon is like, I'm done. Peace out. And Mercury's kind of like, oh, here's all of these things that I need to figure out while I'm retrograde. Here's all of these things I need to process and get more information on and like rework now that I'm retrograde or about to be retrograde. And so again, it kind of gives that feeling of like, here's the memo, gotta go. And the moon pieces out, right? That opposition to Chiron feels like it's a confrontation of what's been ailing us that we've been trying to resolve, especially since that conjunction between Chiron and the North Node that we had several weeks ago. And so again, this is probably not news to us. Whatever is culminating now has been discussed, has been planned in some way, and is now finally kind of being put into the paperwork. And let's talk really briefly about that Venus-Uranus sextile that happens later in the week on Thursday. Let's remember that while Venus was moving through Aquarius and could see the South Node, Venus also walked into a square to Uranus, the same square that was opened up at the Aquarius new moon by the moon and the sun. So the moon and the sun made this sextile to Uranus at the Pisces new moon. And so here now at the full moon, we see Venus walking through that same configuration. Now, again, it is 3 days later, so it may not be immediately relevant to what the full moon is bringing up or releasing now. But Venus making that sextile to Uranus, that she's also ruling, is an integration of what changes are upon us now, or what freedom is now available to us now that that memo has gone out and been received, now that the news has broken. Venus may be tapping into some of that freedom with Uranus, and we might be getting a sense of what evolution is kind of awaiting us now. Okay, let's go ahead and pull some cards. We'll pull a special spread for today since it's an eclipse, and we will recap what we saw open up at the Pisces new moon. We'll take a look back at what was continued at the Gemini first quarter moon, and then we'll see what is shaking out here at this full moon eclipse, so stay tuned. Okay, so here we have our lunation narrative so far, starting off with the Pisces new moon that we had 2 weeks ago, following with our Gemini first quarter moon, and this is the one and only Libra eclipse full moon, so we're going to weave it into the lunation. We've done it differently with the Scorpio and the Taurus lunations last year, but this is the only one, so it counts. We're gonna weave it in. So we're gonna build off of this narrative. If you missed these, go back, check these out, and meet us back here. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at what we are working with today. And we do have some special prompts for this eclipse, and you can find those in the video description. So, for these prompts for today, for this full moon, we're going to be looking at an imbalance I've seen unravel in Libra, progress I've made toward releasing this dynamic, integration that awaits me as this story ends, signs I can look out for of new healthy alliances forming, and a final message from this final one and only full moon eclipse. Okay. And you might remember last spring we had a first new moon eclipse at 29 degrees of Aries. So we do get 2 of those, which is why I, am putting a lot of emphasis on this full moon eclipse. So just to let y'all know. All right. And why not maybe look at the bottom of the deck? Like, I'm curious to see kind of what's underneath all of this, since it's the one and only. Okay. Okay. Who's here? Oh, okay. 4 of Swords. A little bit of drama is what I think of here when I see this in combination with a full moon. Maybe like taking a break from some things, taking space from some things, creating a little bit of privacy around the narrative right now, whatever that might be for you at this time, and really giving yourself some downtime, right? If you think about the sequence of the suit here, the 3 before it is where we embrace some pain, is where we no one really likes to see the 3 of Swords. It's where the impact hits us, right? Whatever the situation is that's going on, it's where we finally are hit by that impact. And the 5 after this is where we recognize that there's no way forward, but we go back into battle and we find ourselves at an impasse. So this is kind of the foxhole that we go into between those narratives in order to regroup, in order to rest, in order to gain clarity, right? We're literally shutting out the battle, the noise around us, in order to kind of like find solitude and peace within that, right? Okay, so let's see. All right, an imbalance I've seen unravel in Libra. Oh, are these all reversed? Okay. Judgment. Oh my. Huh. Okay. So we've seen, this is such a personal card. We are almost at the end of this suit. We are, oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. We're almost at the end of the suit, and this is where upright we make peace with ourselves. Here's this dove, and we release something. We release ourselves. In the making peace, we release. That's fun. In the making peace with ourselves, we release ourselves from the weight of the burden that we've been carrying on this journey. All of the mistakes that we made along the way, all of the things we didn't know, that we had to, that were challenges we had to face, any guilt we're carrying from this journey, or shame, or just, wherever you are right now, wherever this Libra full moon is culminating for you, whatever journey is wrapping up in this period, there's heaviness that comes with that, right? There's grief. And so upright is where we sit with that, we maybe take inventory of it, and then we give ourselves compassion and we say, hey, I knew what I knew when I knew it. All of those mistakes I learned from in some way. Maybe some we didn't, but we've arrived at this place and we can allow ourselves some grace. More rhyming for you. Okay. So in reversal then, the imbalance that I see here is that we feel like we're still in debt to something, is what I just got. I cannot be released from this. I can't let this story end. I can't even get to the part where I seek closure because I have to keep this open. I keep my tab running. Like I'm really feeling strongly that what's coming through right now is this feeling of like, I still gotta put in something though. Like I'm not done putting in the time or like paying my dues or something of that nature. And so thinking of that as an imbalance in the broader scope of this nodal journey in terms of the south node and what's been building up there for the past 18 years, which is the last time the south node specifically moved through Libra. That's a long journey. That's a lot of learning. That's, halfway through a Saturn cycle. Like there's a lot reflected back to us in that time. And that's also a lot of time for problematic patterns to be instilled, problematic relational like imbalances to become deeply rooted. So this is over the broad scope of our lifetimes. Like we have some sort of pattern that we've recognized somewhere within us that says, I can't stop paying this. I can't let myself off the hook. I owe something. I'm still guilty. I'm still in debt to something. I'm still I still need to be punished for something. I still need to, fill in the blank there with what fits for you. But we have maybe recognized some situations where we do that, where we have instincts that keep us in that place, where we don't know when to let ourselves off the hook for things, or we don't know when to forgive ourselves. That feels very Libra in the sense of, let me always say I'm sorry. Let me always take on more so that I can accommodate here in this Libra space, so that the other person has what they need, or the other person sees me being humble, and therefore I am safe, right? If you've been tuning in, we've been talking about like where Libra problems can be about like safety, where we go along to get along so that we can get what we need, right? Okay, that's like a heavy piece to start with. So I just want, let's make room for like a deep breath in this moment. That's a lot, okay? If that's really what's coming up for us, if that's the imbalance we've been carrying for, again, like almost 2 decades at this point, right? If not longer. For those of us who have been through maybe 1 or 2 or 3 of these cycles or 4 of these cycles. Okay. So, progress I've made toward releasing this dynamic. Oh, okay. The 7 of Cups reversed. All right. Ooh, this came up for the Capricorn risings, or the Capricorn video in the Aries season forecast. And so this is really on the tip of my brain right now. This is a major arcana, so this is a really big story, right? Okay, this is like almost 2 decades if we think technically about the Libra space being occupied by the South Node, all right? But if we've been through more than one of these cycles, or if we have Libra placements, or if we have like an afflicted Venus, for example, there's a lot of ways that this story would have a lot of layers to it, okay? So a major arcana card tells us that we're not just in this immediate moment. We are tapped into something archetypal and like collectively shared as a narrative, okay? And like as like an activation, as a chapter of life, okay? So 7 of Cups then reversed, showing us kind of on the ground where we are undoing some of the emotional imprints that have left stains on our perception of our choices, as well as how we make them and what we deserve. Okay, that was kind of a mouthful, so let's break that down. Upright. You've maybe heard me talk about Venus and Scorpio and how it is often connected to this card, with the idea being that Venus is in detriment in Scorpio. Venus experiences adversity in Scorpio. Venus is not grounded in an earth sign, nor is she connected socially to people in an air sign that she rules. She's in a watery place, which she could get down with. Venus loves Pisces, for example, but Scorpio is pretty tumultuous water. It's dark, it's murky, it's
it's shadowy, it's not forthcoming, right? It's kind of it's intentionally a mystery in there. So Venus has to not only navigate getting what is needed from this place that is very unknown to Venus, but Venus also needs to rely on other people in order to get those things, right? We've moved into the interpersonal signs here. So all of the experiences of having to kind of depend on other people and, again, like, be strategic about what is needed, leave an imprint on what getting those resources looks like every time subsequently after that. So if I felt connected to something and then I lost that something, that, and then I experienced grief from that, that colors what I then choose moving forward. What those options even look like to me are going to be based from this place of having experienced that loss. And therefore, what I choose or what I feel entitled to choose is also going to be based upon that feeling of loss and the grief that comes with that. I hope that all makes sense. So, with all of that said, this is a card that reminds us of where we make choices from an emotionally depleted or depressed place, right? This is not us making choices from feeling fully resourced. This is us making choices from a place of feeling desperate, feeling scared, feeling fearful, feeling negative in any way about what our options are going to be the next time we're faced with any. Okay. Then, as something we have made progress toward, we are unraveling, and we are rewriting that story. All right, we are recognizing where those emotional imprints are within us. We have maybe questioned them. We have maybe gotten clear on why things unfolded the way they did, or perhaps why we made the choices we made at that time. And we recognize that we are no longer in that place, or we have experienced a shift in our emotions so that what choices are in front of us we are seeing more clearly, and we are more connected to like how they can be I don't know, like woven into our lives, and therefore what we feel entitled to choose from this place moving forward. Okay. Whew. Okay, absolutely. So if this is like, I've spent decades here in this place of being in debt to other people and feeling like I have to stay and do things and do more and put in more effort or give more, or I can't let myself off the hook here, then that work we've done toward releasing that is recognizing what in the past has colored our feelings, our emotional state, to tell us that that's the only option, to tell us that that is the cup we should be choosing, or the like idea that we should be stepping into and embodying. Integration that awaits me as this story ends is like walking away from a path that we thought we had to keep going down. Okay, so upright, you've heard me talk about how, our heart is our passion, right? And unlike other nines, this one is not necessarily always telling us that like we're almost there, right? There's this car here on this cosmic road and we're like, are we there yet? And that's not always what's happening here. Sometimes, yes, like a creative project can be coming to an end, or some other arduous project that requires our full, like our blood, sweat, and tears, that this long worked at thing is finally coming to an end. So that can sometimes be what's happening. But in a broader scope, we are looking at really what motivates us, what drives us, what our life force energy looks like, and how we continue along the road with it, kind of until we die. Like our passion is, unless we go through many changes in our lives and we discover, we have some sort of like divine intervention. Typically, people who have a strong passion maintain that passion and continue to grow it and evolve it in ways. That's what we have here in the Nine of Wands, right? It's never like, okay, I've explored all of astrology. If you love astrology, something you love about it is that the more you learn about it, the more there is to learn. And that is something we can see in this Nine of Wands. So there's an indefinite relationship to that which we feel really committed to in terms of passion. Okay, so integration that awaits me as this story ends is that I can stop this car. I can stop this car. I can actually get clear on what I've committed to that I don't want to keep committing to. If my heart is not in it, then why am I making this journey? And perhaps there are other reasons, right? I'm not going to be so foolish as to say, like, always follow your heart. Nah, girl, like, it's a 2024 world and the economy does not support that. But I will say that what we are going to be integrating is at least the awareness that we have the option to maybe like change roads, to decide when our heart's not in it, and to want off this pathway and to want to seek another pathway, to not need to see something through to the end. Because what happens in the 10 is that we're overwhelmed. It's that we have to put something down. And so this might be an opportunity that we are going to integrate to actually preemptively put something down, or to recognize where we want to turn this car around. Signs I can look out for of new healthy alliances forming. Oh, here's a 10. Okay. When like the anxiety is, when we're finally able to like mentally wrap our heads around this. Okay. This is the end of, or like really the non-end of heart, of passion, of blood, of life force energy, of essence. Okay. This is like our mind. All right. And so when we feel like we can allow this sun to finally come up is when we are connecting those healthy alliances. So this is really about us, right? I kind of thought maybe this would reveal something outside of us, you know, like, hey, here's a 3 of Cups or something. Like, here's a here's a party gathering. 6 of Wands, here's a celebration. But this is really, this is such an internal card here, such an internal energy. Maybe something's been dragging on and dragging on and dragging on, and we have been just doubling down on feeling like we're indebted or that we can't let ourselves off the hook. And I think what we see here is either we're confronting some resistance around that, or just the ongoing nature of that is finally here. We are creating space. Maybe that's what this 4 of Swords is about too. Like, we're creating the space to actually like accept this. And so maybe we've been in denial about something that needs to end, or like maybe we're just so anxious about this whole thing, right? This is a lot of information here that we're funneling out of us. But it makes a lot of sense that we would need something, or we would need to let something fully end in order to reach this place of judgment, in order to finally absolve ourselves of debt, to then start over with a clean slate and invest in new alliances from a fresh start. Okay, a final message from this final full moon eclipse. I really love this like juxtaposition here. Everything feels so twisty, so bendy. These are both very like sunset-y, nighty, darker energy cards. This is certainly pitch black and trying to invite in light. And this is all distorted, right? And so here we have this kind of moment of clarity here coming through. So 7 of Pentacles shows us a moment where we are assessing what we are building up to. So I love that we've got these kind of end of the road cards. We have another 7 here. I like this. But we've got these sort of otherwise end of the road cards, judgment here included. And so here we are kind of recognizing ourselves at the halfway point. Here we get to taste the fruits of our labor and decide if they are as sweet as we would like, is one way to put this. We've got some idea of the formula. We've been testing things out. And before we go ahead and finalize the formula in the 8 of Pentacles, which is where we start to just like hammer down. We're like, okay, now we can like replicate this because we've spent time fine-tuning it. This is the fine-tuning that we're doing. So this final message from this final full moon and only is that we are allowed to actually be in this moment. Maybe we have some internal structures within us, and that could be some of the reversal, where we are working within to sort of get clear on some of these other things, right? And let's pair this with this other 7. So if we've been working on this progress, then maybe we're at this place of, okay, like, what do I actually want these things to look like? What have I been tinkering with? What am I tinkering in within myself? Where have I resisted this tinkering? Again, because I've been in this place of, no, I know that I'm still in debt. This can't change. I'm never going to be out of debt. Where is it maybe time to come out of this place? Maybe you've been tinkering with something this whole time. Maybe you've been trying to perfect something, and it's time to like step out of that sort of search for perfection, and to kind of allow yourself to experiment. This might be a feeling of, I don't have the answers yet, and so I cannot stop assessing. I've moved from assessing to obsessing. Maybe I'm obsessing over what's going to happen if I let all this go, if I let this end, or if I acknowledge that this is over, if I really take this space. What if I mess it all up? What if I lose everything? And this might be an invitation to experiment, or to stop experimenting and to just let yourself live. Maybe life is the experiment. Maybe we're seeking all the answers, and there's no perfect formula for this right now. Okay. And maybe it's time, maybe you have already perfected the formula, right? Like, maybe that we need to give ourselves credit and say, like, you've done it. You actually have, what you have is good enough right now. And we can work with that. Okay. Whoo, big eclipse energy in here. Let me know how this lands for you in the comments. If you enjoyed, please like, share, subscribe. We will talk about our 3rd quarter moon next time, and we'll prepare for the Aries new moon eclipse that's coming. So I'll see you then.